Okay, Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends, as well as the Black Sports Insiders. I'm here with the legend, Mr. Charlie Neal. How you doing, Charlie?
I am fine, Cal. How are you?
Oh, good to see you again. I think the last time we saw one another was at the Legacy Bowl and chopping it up on the field there. But I have to first say congratulations once again for your induction to the SWAC Football Hall of Fame.
Well, I appreciate it so much. It's an honor that I treasure. You know, it's ironic when I started doing the HBCU games was with Black Entertainment Television back in 1980. And ironically enough, the SWAC was one of the first conferences that really embraced what BET was doing. Joe Johnson, who was the president of Grambling State University at the time, was a big fan of Black Entertainment Television and what they were trying to do at the time. And he pushed us to no end. And I really owe a lot of that to him, the success of what BET was able to do. Of course, there were other conferences, the CIAA, as well as the SIAC and the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference were also involved. But the SWAC really embraced us big time. And, you know, to this day, I'm very much indebted to them for allowing me over the years to continue to come into their area and broadcast the games from the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I told you once before, I grew up listening to you and watching you and just admiring your career and what you've been able to accomplish. I know it was last season you were honored by the College Football Association, and this year now being honored by the SWAC. I was just taken aback because I was like, I'm pretty sure the SWAC had already honored him, but to be able to get this honor now is still great to be able to see.
It really is, and it'll take place the week of the Celebration Bowl down in Atlanta, Georgia, is where it's going to take place. I believe it's the 13th or 14th.
13th.
The date
right.
is that Friday, the day before the championship game, the Celebration Bowl championship game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and you know, some of the other people going in with me. Household names. You look at Pete Richardson, longtime coach in the CIAA and at Southern University. Got a chance to spend some time with him a couple of weeks ago. We were down in Huntsville, Alabama, and he does the radio games for Southern University as an analyst. So I got a chance to spend some time with him, and always great seeing Pete. And then, of course, Fred McNair, Steve McNair's older brother, who was a head coach at Alcorn for many years, and now is an assistant at Alabama A&M on the staff there. Not is it Alabama? I forget.
No, with Southern. With Southern.
I'm sorry, I said Alabama. He's with Southern. It was at Alabama A&M that I saw him. He's on Southern staff. You know, that's interesting. That staff that Southern has, it also has Willie Totten on the staff.
Sure does.
The former quarterback from Mississippi Valley. He's on the staff, and I was kidding the head coach. I said, "You got all these assistants over here. You can't stub your toe because they all have head coaching experience."
Yeah, not only that, talking to Coach McNair and as well as Totten, you talking about two guys who knew how to spin the ball, right?
No question. Both of them did.
Satellite as well as Mr. McNair. Yeah, we had a debate. Did Fred McNair have a better throwing ball than Steve McNair?
Now that I can't answer. That's just a debate. I'm, you know, like who's the best center in basketball. That's one I don't know. I can't really say. I don't know. I have never tried to compare the two and how they threw the ball, but we do know what Steve McNair was able to do. You know, as he left the college ranks and went on to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you a question about what's happening in the professional ranks. And if you look at a young man like Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and those young guys, CJ Stroud as well, how proud does that make you see what they're putting out on the field, the level of and quality of work those young quarterbacks are doing at this time?
Well, you look at the beginning of the season, the number of African-American quarterbacks that was starting at NFL teams is 32 teams, and I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
15 started.
15. Yeah, so you know, half of the league had HBCU, not HBCU, but African American quarterbacks starting. You know, and you got Hurts up at Philadelphia, you got Jackson at Baltimore, you've got Russell Wilson. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on. And in fact, there was an article I was just reading yesterday in USA Today. We're talking about the number of black head coaches in the National Football League right now. So again, you know, sometimes things do take time to come around and make themselves and manifest themselves and put them in the right light. And as Doug Williams and I talk a lot, he says, you know, one of the day we won't be saying he's a black quarterback. He's a quarterback. That's right. You know, we don't say he's a black wide receiver or a black linebacker, you know. So we always have to preface that position by color. But we are getting to the point in this day and time when it becomes natural that we don't have to address it in that manner. We can just say, you know, there's Russell Wilson and there's, you know, Patrick Mahomes and those guys. Go on and just look at them like we looked at Tom Brady. We didn't say Tom Brady was a white quarterback or Drew Brees was a white quarterback. So why do we have to put a label on them?
Definitely, especially with, like you say, Patrick Mahomes, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Lamar being a 2-time MVP, could be his third coming up the way he's been playing this season as well. Yeah. So just excellence across the board. Speaking of excellence, I want you to give a little praise to some of your colleagues out there, Tiffany Green, Jay Walker, and we had a newbie to the HBCU Go team, but he's a good friend of mine, Mr. Johnny Cole. He did a great job this season for you guys.
Yeah,
let's talk about that young crop.
Well, you know, I've been knowing Johnny a long time from his playing days at Texas Southern. And then, of course, he assistant coach for his brother LC for many years, and then was head coach at Texas Southern, his alma mater, for a couple of years. And Johnny and I have always maintained a good relationship and friendship. And a couple of times this year, we knew that Antoine Bethea was not going to be able to do the whole schedule, all 13 games. So I had reached out to Johnny Cole and see if he was be interested, along with Greg Coleman, the former punter with the Minnesota Vikings and Florida A&M graduate. So it had worked out perfectly. And you talk about Tiffany and Jay, you know, they're like the Iron Man. Last night they were in Huntsville, Alabama, doing a game for ESPN. Tonight they're going to be in Durham, North Carolina, doing an ESPNU game when Howard University plays North Carolina Central. So that takes a lot. I hope they had a Learjet waiting for them when they got done. I hope they didn't have to go to the airport this morning and change planes in Atlanta and all that stuff. But anyway,
definitely.
But more importantly, the fact that the exposure that these HBCUs are getting, whether it's on ESPN, ESPN Plus, ESPNU, HBCU Go, the Grio, whatever, it's very important. And you look like, again, tomorrow you have the SIAC Championship that's going to be played down in Birmingham, right outside of Birmingham, Fairfield, Alabama, Miles and Clark, Atlanta. That's an ESPNU game. And that comes on around noon, I believe it is. Our game, where I am, I'm in Salem, Virginia. I've got the CIAA Championship, and that's a 3:00 kickoff. So that's great to see HBCUs. You know, you're talking about 4 days. It's 4 straight days of HBCU, or 3 straight days, 4 games rather, HBCU football on network television, somewhere where you could see it. You know, ESPN, you had the game last night in Huntsville, Alabama. They'll have the game tonight, you know, opposite Mike Tyson doing his thing.
I forgot about that one.
Ironically
at AT&T Stadium, right.
And then, of course, the 2 games tomorrow. So, you know, people are understanding. I think advertisers are understanding. Management is understanding the importance of HBCUs and the exposure. And, you know, when you're talking about selling and sales, you in the media industry, sales is very, very important in terms of maintaining what you're trying to do. And one of the things as a salesperson, you're looking at eyeballs. All right, that means how many people are actually watching what you're putting out there, your product. And if you continue to put a good product out there, the eyeballs will come.
Yeah, definitely. And I think across the board, everybody has raised the bar each year, especially with the production that you guys have with HBCU Go. That kickoff show has really taken off with Trey Boston. Had a chance to chop it up with him a little bit, Tolly Carr and Laurencia, right? So
No, it's Jasmine McCoy.
Jasmine.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Laurencia is
You're
on
right.
the broadcast team with me, but Jasmine McCoy was the co-host of the kickoff show. Yeah, we
That
did
is
5
correct.
of them this year. We did
Yeah.
5 of them this year at different locations, and Procter and Gamble jumped on board and put the money behind it. And I mean, I'll tell you, it was very good. I happened to have a chance to see the show every week because they were always in the city most of the time that where we were to do our game. But I had a chance to actually get on the show a couple of weeks ago when we were down in, I believe we were at Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Alabama, and it was just the excitement that the schools came and did their due diligence to make sure things went the way they're supposed to do. The fan base, things of this nature. It's been great. So we won't have any more this year. The last one was last week when we were in Jackson at Jackson State University.
Yeah, and you had a legendary HBCU guy from the NFL Network show up and pitch in to help you guys out on that show
Steve
as well.
White, yeah,
Steve White.
yeah. Steve is one of our biggest fans, and he's part of the HBCU, not the HBCU, but the Black College Football Hall of Fame Selection
Hall of
Committee,
Fame.
along with Charles
Correct.
Davis, myself, and Steve is always willing to jump in and help out. We've called on him on numerous occasions and numerous times, and I was kidding him because he wanted to stay for the game, but he had to get up on the plane right after because he had to get back to LA for the NFL Network show the next day. So, but he's doing a fantastic job on that show, and he did a fantastic job for us.
Yeah, always. Steve is a great Howard Bison.
Mm-hmm.
So love to talk to Steve. Now let's talk about what's happening on Saturday with you guys, and it's the CIAA Championship, right?
Yep.
And we have
Virginia
Coach
Union and Virginia State.
Yeah, but let's talk about these Dr. Frazier and Dr. Those guys are doing a fabulous job with these programs.
Well, it was so ironic, and John Kelly and myself were talking earlier. We both went over and watched the teams work out this afternoon. Dr. Frazier, Dr. Alvin Parker.
Right.
Just the fact that these two gentlemen are doing something you very rarely see. When I say doing something, they're doctors. They're just not just people with a college degree who's coaching football. They have their PhDs. So they have taken it a step further. And for that to happen, and for these young men that they're mentoring at this juncture in their lives, that's a great role model for them to pattern after. I've talked to a number of players that are in grad school that are on these two teams, and that means a whole heck of a lot. They're going for their masters. Some of them will wind up with their doctorate, and that's very, very important. I've known Henry Frazier since his playing days at Bowie State. He was a quarterback. I did games when he played for the CIAA Championship as a quarterback. I watched him do a fantastic job there. Then he went on and became head coach at Prairie View.
Wow. Hey, Jay, this project might need a bit of zhuzhing. Hollaback, Warren.
Please let me know your thoughts. Best regards, Warren.
I am genius.
Come to McDonald's and treat yourself to the Grandma McFlurry today. So I trust everyone's read the prospectus. Lance, why don't you take us through it?
Let's get into the prospectus.
Okay.
I am genius.
Something amazing is happening here. Climate researchers are weathering a data storm. That's because CDW transformed their devices and infrastructure with Lenovo ThinkPads and powerful edge-to-cloud solutions, delivering faster insights and increased performance, giving them the scale to stay ready for whatever's next. Make amazing happen. Lenovo and CDW.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
And then he was at North Carolina Central for a moment, and then he's taken over. This is his 3rd year at Virginia State. Fantastic gentleman. In fact, during one of the lulls or period that he wasn't coaching, he did some games with me.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And so we have a great relationship. Alvin Parker. And the ironic thing about these 2 guys, they're both from the Washington, D.C. area. And both grew up in Washington, D.C. And in fact, Coach Frazier still has a house up there. He was telling me today he's in the process of selling that one, and it just bought a lot. He's going to build another one in Upper Marlboro, which is about 15 minutes from where I live. And so, they compete very heavily against each other in the recruiting wars. Washington, D.C. has a wealth of talent in terms of the football world.
Sure does.
And so, one will be at a school recruiting, and Alvin Parker will leave, and when Henry Frazier comes in, they'll say, "Yeah, Coach Parker was just here." So they're actually in many cases are recruiting the same individual or looking at, they're trying to win, and they've done a fantastic job. They've turned the program around, and that's the most important thing. Is that you continue to build on that winning tradition. This will be these 2 teams first met in 1900. Believe it or not, they met. The CIAA conference wasn't even formed until 1912, but they met the first time in 1900, and I believe it was 15-6 or something was the score of the first game.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Virginia Union won, I believe it was, and that in itself, over the last 10 years, they're 5-5 split. Now they played last week to decide who was going to be here this week, and it was Virginia State who came out victorious. They won the game, but they were hoping that Johnson C. Smith lost, because it was Johnson C. Smith was actually the team that was running away with everything in the conference all season long.
Sure were.
They went 8-0, and then they lost to Fayetteville State and at home, and then they went on the road and lost to Livingstone last week. Well, that loss to Livingstone put Virginia State in the championship. Even though Virginia Union was already in, they had clinched a spot. It was just a matter of who they were going to play, whether it was going to be Johnson C. Smith or whether it was going to be Virginia State. So by way of Virginia State, they win. They had to sit back and wait to see the score of the Livingstone Johnson C. Smith game. So if Johnson C. Smith won, they would be here in Salem, Virginia. But it's kind of ironic. This is the last year that, they've been here for the last 5 years, I believe, 4 or 5 years. They've held the championship game here. This is the last year it's going to be here in Salem, Virginia. Next year, they're going to move it to Durham, North Carolina. They've got I think a 2 or 3 or 4 year deal they've signed with the city of Durham to have it in Durham, North Carolina. And to have the 2 Virginia schools Virginia Union, Virginia State, it's only about a 2-hour ride from their campus to where we are. So they expect a heck of a crowd tomorrow for both of these schools, who actually sit 30 minutes apart from each other in Virginia. You know, one is in Petersburg, Virginia, one is in Richmond, Virginia. Actually, Virginia State's in a city called Ettrick. They don't call it Petersburg. The Petersburg is the big city everybody knows about, but Ettrick is actually the city in which Virginia State sits. And so they're 30 minutes apart. These kids know each other. You know, when you have schools this close, you know, it's a rivalry, but everybody knows each other. And it's going to be, I think, a whale of a ball game. You know, you've got Jada Byers, one of the top rushers in all of Division II football, with 23 touchdowns and almost 1,500 yards rushing this season. And one of the things I've been pushing for, I don't know if it's going to happen, but he's a senior now. He's done eligibility-wise, but there's an award that comes out. They'll announce it at the end of the month, and they'll be awarded in mid-December. It's called the Harlan Hill Award. And the Harlan Hill Award is the Division II version of the Heisman Trophy. Okay. And no one from an HBCU has ever won that award.
Really?
The majority of the people who have won the award were quarterbacks, but no one from an HBCU has ever won that award. And Jada Byers, to me, is one of those people who is deserving of that Harlan Hill Award.
He's done such a tremendous job all 4 of his seasons being at Virginia Union. Last year, people say, oh, he had a down year, but he still ran over 1,000 yards, guys.
Yes, he did. And they won the championship.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
they beat Fayetteville State for the CIAA championship.
Yeah, I saw what he did to my Morehouse Tigers. So I keep on saying, you guys underestimate Mr. Byers. And Mr. Byers, I believe, has the talent to take it to the next level as well.
Yeah, he had, I think he ran all over Bowie State this year. I think he had 5-6 touchdowns in that game. I mean,
and he had a 300+ yard game too, right?
Yeah.
Oh my, he's a tremendous talent, guys. And
he really is.
Got to look out for Mr. Jada Byers. And talk about that Trojan team. Last week, I watched the game, and those guys were not intimidated that the Panthers were coming in to try to win. Matter of fact, they took it to them. Now, the Panthers, they did have a couple drop opportunities for touchdowns, but you have to still credit that defense for Virginia State.
Yes, you do. Reggie Vick, who's one of the top receivers in the conference. He just, I don't know. You'll never see him drop one like that wide open again.
Right.
He was going across the goal line. He's still dropping it, you know. But Virginia State, you know, they do a very good job. Like I said, Henry Frazier, their head coach, he's been in these trenches before. He knows what it takes. This is his 3rd year down in Virginia State territory. The defense is playing lights out, doing what they need to do at the time they need to do it. Plus, they have a pretty good quarterback by the name of Rolando Williams. Yes. And, you know, Rolando's had a pretty good season and should probably, I know his name came up for the Legacy Bowl as a possibility, you know, as far as quarterbacks are concerned. So I'm looking for a pretty good game. If the game is as good tomorrow as it was last Saturday, we're in for a treat. We're in for a treat.
Definitely. Let's turn our attention to the Legacy Bowl. And I know you're a part of the selection committee as well. I got a list of some of the young men that have been selected, and we have a good mixture again from all of the conferences as well as the independents. Who, in your opinion, if we have to say the NFL scouts are really chomping at the bit to see their talent, who will be a couple of the guys that you would identify as NFL ready prospects?
Well, you've got a couple of linemen, and again, the list is so long, and we categorize them by the conference that they come from. They're either going to be on the Gaither squad or they're going to be on the Robinson squad. You know, in fact, if you give me a second, I've got a list sitting right here of some of those players. I was looking at it earlier. What is ironic about it and what is so nice is you got kids, everybody at the beginning of the year, we have a depth chart, just like everybody, a team. We put together the depth chart and then we look down and we invite players. We have some players that we've invited, but they've either decided to go back to coming back next year for another year to play, or some of them are waiting to see if they get invited to another postseason game, like the Senior Bowl or something of this nature. And
or the Shrine, East-West Shrine.
Yeah, and they have not necessarily responded to our requests. So what we do, once we identify them, we send out a request, or send out an invitation, I should say. Now I'm looking in, like I said, the Gaither squad. The Gaither squad will consist of people from the MEAC and the CIAA. The Robinson squad will consist of players from the SWAC and the SIAC. So, but plus we don't forget A&T's in there, Hampton's in there, and Tennessee State are also invited. But when you look at, I think the biggest thing that the pro scouts are looking at, and I'm looking at them now, are offensive linemen. Let me look here. I'm looking at one tight end, offensive quarterback, offensive lineman. There's a kid from Fayetteville State by the name of Mike Todd. There's a kid from South Carolina, two offensive linemen from South Carolina State, Nick Tace and Cam Johnson. Those kids are the people the scouts are kind of, the one kid that they're raving a lot on, but is a kid, the offensive guard from Jackson State named Evan Henry.
Yes.
You know, so that's one of those people that they're keeping an eye on. Miles Crawley, coming into the season as a quarterback, was one of those people that was a preseason player of the year predicted for the SWAC. Had a kind of an up and down year, didn't have a great game last night either, but he's one of those at the quarterback position. The kid from Tennessee State, the quarterback, Drayton Ellis, he's one that they're taking a look at off the top
Eric
of my
Phoenix as well, correct?
Eric Phoenix from South Carolina State, he's on there. So they got Eric Phoenix, Drayton Ellis, and there's a kid, Christian Peters from Shaw. But I don't know what's going to happen with him. I think Romello Williams, if he has a good game tomorrow and what he did last week, he may take that fourth spot. They're bringing in 4 quarterbacks for each squad. Jada Byers, of course, he's on the Gaither squad as a running back, and Jared Hunter, running back from Howard University. On the Robinson squad, you got Earl Mulligan. He's been playing extremely well for Jackson State. He's one of those kids that they're going to be looking at tremendously. This pro scouts are going to look at him. So that's just some of the names that there were so many. Because our list has those who've accepted. Those I just talked to you about are those who've accepted. We've sent invitations to, they've accepted. Like I look at the Robinson squad at the wide receiver spot. I've got a kid from Texas College down in your neck of the woods named Terrell Hookfin. You know, a lot of people don't, he's a small school guy, but he may be one of the top receivers in the country, you know. But I've got 20 names of receivers on my list, you know.
Wow.
You got Jacoby Hewitt, Fabian McCray, DeJuan Bell, Trayvon Spiller, Chandler Whitfield, Jair Andrews, Jalen Peterson, Darnell Dees. I mean, the list is going
on and on, huh?
On and on. And you got to break it down. And we have to be careful because we want to make sure the players that we bring in are representative so that the pro scouts are saying, hey, it's going to be a hard choice.
November is American Diabetes Month. And while nearly half of us have diabetes or prediabetes, every story is personal. There are stories of strength,
Every day is different, not one day is the same.
hard work,
No es tenerle miedo realmente a la enfermedad, es saber cómo combatir la enfermedad.
and heartbreak.
When she passed away, it was because of diabetes.
But no matter your diabetes story, we fight for you and to find a cure. Join us at diabetes.org.
To the inconsiderate monster who has been stealing my pudding, I hope your conscience eats at you as you have eaten my pudding. Bring my pudding back. I wish you the worst, Dale.
Beautiful words. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I am genius.
Come to McDonald's and treat yourself to the Grandma McFlurry today.
So I trust everyone's read the prospectus. Lance? Why don't you take us through it?
Let's get into the prospectus.
Okay.
I am genius.
Yeah.
But we have the pro day. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what we have seen from the Legacy Bowl over the years. Of course, this is the fourth installment.
Yes.
But I've being there, being able to contribute, because I'm on the planning committee as well with the media side. But we have seen this really take off. But also the interest has taken off from the NFL side as well as the Canadian League as well. And I also got wind some of the European leagues are kind of having some interest in some of the players as well. We have Michael Badjo, who is from Texas Southern. He's over in Germany now and doing a fine job. So I think these young guys are going to have a lot of different opportunities other than just the UFL, NFL, Canadian League, because there's some interest out there. There's some arena programs that are going to pick up some of these young men as well. So
I just wish the NFL would draft one of them.
Hopefully this year. Hopefully this year we will get that again.
That's been our Achilles heel.
Yeah,
we can't seem to get anybody drafted.
We had Bolden a year ago, right? And he was the last one to be drafted. Last year, surprisingly, no drafts, but a whole lot of undrafted free agent signings across the board.
Yep.
So we'll see. Last couple of questions for you, Charlie, is that this marks how many years of over 50 years in the business? 44. Okay. All right, 44 years in
from
the
1980,
business.
starting in 1980.
All right, you're still a young pup.
Yeah, well, I was 2 when I started.
Yeah, there you go. So right now, if you look at the landscape of HBCU football, a lot of people thought, it was going to be a down year. But I think it's been very exciting in a lot of different ways. You have still, we don't know who's going to be the West representatives in the SWAC or who's going to be the East representatives. We at one time FAMU was up, then now it's Jackson State. They're in the front runner for that position. Do you feel as though I guess I need to ask you like this: what else can we do to help promote this game and help take it to another level for the fans to be able to get more of an interest in what's happening out there on the field?
Just have to be positive about what we're seeing. All these leagues are very competitive. And I think that's what sometimes people have a tendency to lose track of. You know, it's easy to say FAMU and Jackson State, but you know, Arkansas Pine. I did a game the other week with Jackson State and Mississippi Valley. Mississippi Valley was leading in that game, you know, and that was last week. And of course, Jackson State came back. But the fact is, Mississippi Valley is not a bad team. Neither is Arkansas Pine Bluff. You know, neither is Texas Southern. But yet sometimes you run into those buzzsaws. Texas Southern knocked off Prairie View to begin the season.
Sure,
you know,
did.
With a very first-year head coach, Chris Dishman. So, again, it's very competitive from week to week. You just never know. Alabama State is hosting Jackson State tomorrow. Now, Jackson State needs that win to ensure that they're going to be the East champion. You know, but nothing's guaranteed from week to week. Whoever thought FAMU would fall the way they've fallen.
Right.
North Carolina Central gets beaten by South Carolina State. You know, the MEAC with only 6 football teams, very competitive. You know, the SIAC, Teddy Keaton comes in there. His first year comes over from Allen University, and he has them in the championship game with a 7-2-1 record. Yeah. And then you know, on the other side, you got Miles College, who a few years ago was 1-9. You know, and look, they're in the championship game. So it's about competitiveness. It's about promoting the positive aspects of what they've been able to do and continually doing it. I mean, I know every week we put out a top 10 poll, and that's not an easy thing to do because the teams are all up and down, and doing one thing. You know, whoever thought, you know, after Johnson C. Smith had such a great start, because at one time they were the only unbeaten HBCU team out there. And of course they stumped their toe the last 2 games of the season. I still don't know how that happened or what they were doing, or did they fall asleep at the wheel, but they crashed big time, you know, and that's unfortunate for them because they had an opportunity to showcase what they brought to the table on tomorrow at the championship. But again, each one of these conferences is very competitive. You know, you have 12 teams in the SWAC, and any given Saturday, you know, we've seen Alcorn upset. We've seen Grambling. And Grambling beat Jackson State this season. It was not a conference game in terms of it didn't count because each team plays 8 conference games in the SWAC. But the fact of they just happened to be one of the losses was to a SWAC opponent, but it didn't count as a SWAC game. But they, you know, Grambling beat Jackson State. You know, they stumped their toe against some people they shouldn't stump their toes against. You know, Alabama A&M got to them last night. So again, I like the competitiveness. I like the closeness. Southern University, because of course I believe it was Alcorn and not Alcorn, but I think it was Prairie
So
View.
they had overtime with PV.
Yeah.
Texas Southern.
But in the preseason poll, the prediction, I believe it was Alabama State was picked to win their division, and the East. I'm trying to think who was
Alabama
the West.
State was predicted in the East.
Right, East, and I think the West was Alcorn.
Alcorn,
right, at the beginning of the season. That was the preseason prediction. Alcorn and Alabama State, and neither one of them may be there. Alabama State, you know, they struggled last week. They lost. You know, they're losing to people they shouldn't be losing to. You know, there's talk that Alabama A&M's coach is on the hot seat, Cornell Maynard. He's a senior coach in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, 7 years. The next most senior coach to him is Bubba McDowell and Eddie Robinson. Those are 3 years. So there's a 4-year gap between Cornell Maynard and the next 2 coaches. The last 2 years, there have been 9 new head coaches in the SWAC, 5 this past year. So, I mean, you know, but you've got some good young coaches. We close out our season next week. We'll be down in Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and we'll get a chance to see. It'll be against Texas Southern. Texas Southern and Arkansas, Pine Bluff. That's the way we'll close. That's the last game we'll have on HBCU Go. But again, I like the competitiveness. I like the fact that on any given Saturday, you don't know who's going to do what. I mean, the SIC, you had Fort Valley, you had Albany State, Tuskegee, all teams that you factored in thinking they could make some noise. But then you get a Teddy Keaton coming in with his quarterback doing a fantastic job. He brought that kid with him from Allen University. And, of course, Sam Shade, what he's done with this Miles College team.
Yeah. Excellence across the board. Great jobs, especially with those first year and second year coaches, because you look at Terrence Graves over at Southern University.
Yep.
I call those guys the Cardiac Cats this year.
They are.
Overtime wins. And it was so funny at Texas Southern. I'm standing near the end zone, and one of the reporters said, "Oh, Texas Southern looks like they're going to win." I said, "It's still time on the board." And once I said that, the next play, the young man misses the punt, and the rest is history, right?
It's almost like last year, the last game of the season.
You were there, yeah. You were
that game against
that's right,
against Arkansas Pine Bluff, and
that's
Arkansas.
Right.
I mean, they had a big lead at halftime,
17 points.
Yeah, and then Pine Bluff comes back and knocks them off, and that spelled the end for Clarence McKinney.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Good coach. All right. And last question. If you look at these young guys, and let's stick with the young coaches, are you proud to see what they have been able to accomplish early on? You have TC Taylor in his second season gets a contract extension.
Yeah, that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
Man.
Then you have what you said, Mr.
Well, you got Chris
Clark
Ditchman.
Atlanta. He's done a tremendous job, right? And you look at Terrence Graves. He's in the running for Coach of the Year in the SWAC, as well as TC Taylor and those guys. It's just across the board. You have to be pleased with the talent that they're displaying and being able to lift up their young people. But the guy that I wanted to really talk to you about, and you and I spoke about him before he accepted the job at South Carolina State.
Chinnis Berry. Yeah, Chinnis has done a fantastic job. In fact, they're sitting in the driver's seat. All they have to do is, they got a big game against Morgan tomorrow on the road.
Yeah, huge.
In fact, I talked to them earlier this morning. They were getting ready to get on their plane. They had a charter going up to Baltimore. They come away victorious. They're Celebration Bowl bound. So that's big for the South Carolina State Bulldogs. First year head coach Chinnis Berry. Excuse me. And it's just a matter of who's going to be in the Celebration Bowl against them. Is it going to be Jackson State? Is it going to be Southern University? I'm predicting Jackson State, Southern University for the SWAC championship in Jackson, Mississippi. And then Jackson State prevails, and they'll play South Carolina State. That's me going out on a limb right now.
Yeah, I think I'm on board with you on that one, Charlie. I see it as the matchup to be able to have at this time. Still, Damon Wilson and those guys over at Morgan, he wants to play spoiler. And
yeah, they can. And
oddly enough, they still have a chance if they do win that game.
They do not have a bad team.
Yeah,
they do not have a bad team.
And they've been very competitive most of the season.
And
so
it's quite evident. He won the CIAA Championship 3 years in a row as a coach at Bowie State before he moved over to Morgan State. So again, he's a heck of a coach up at Morgan State, and so it's not a given. You still have to come and put your chin strap up. But South Carolina State, this is 2 weeks in a row they've come north. They beat Howard last week in DC. They're going to Baltimore this week.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about coaches on the hot seat, two great coaches that you mentioned, Cornell Manor and Dawson Oldhams is another one people have been rumbling about. How do you see those two situations possibly faring?
I'd hate to see any coach get fired.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, you got to look at the whole picture. Why did they have a poor season? Like you said, Dawson Oldhams, his struggle since he's been at Norfolk State. Cornell hasn't really done what everybody thought they would do, except for that COVID year when they won the SWAC championship. It was an
Right.
abbreviated season, the spring ball.
Right.
And one other coach that people are yelling about is the coach at North Carolina A&T. Because they're in the
Brown.
CAA, and things are not seemingly working out for them. So we'll see what happens in the offseason. I hope everybody is able to stay put. I don't think we're going to have as many coaching changes this year as we saw last year.
Okay. And are you proud of what you see from Coach Sanders, Shadur Sanders, and Travis Hunter?
Well, he to me
got to
is
claim him with the HBCU pedigree, right?
yeah, and I think Deion probably is going to be coach of the year if they went out and get to the Big 12 championship. I think he's going to be coach of the year, which he deserved to do so. He's turned that program around big time. So that's very, very important. And I think very much so that I watch and to see how he's going to do each and every week. And, hopefully he stays. I don't know if he has the temperament to go to the NFL. I think he's better off at the college level because you're dealing with people on a different level. When you're dealing with young people, you can treat them I'm not saying treating them bad, but it's the way you can approach them as opposed to a guy who's making $1 million or $2 million, making more than you. See, Colorado's just the opposite. He's making more than them. Now you go to the NFL, you got all these players making more than you. So it's a different mindset. I hope he stays.
Yeah, I recall Coach Sanders saying that he has a problem with these millionaires not underachieving because he was always at a high elite level. He has a problem with those guys. How do you motivate a millionaire? That's what he says. How do you do that?
Right.
So, but anyway, with Charlie, I hope you and John have a great call on the CIAA Championship. And I look forward to possibly seeing you at the Celebration Bowl this year, as well as the HBCU Legacy Bowl. Okay?
I'll see you there, and you be careful. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Very good talking to you, and congratulations again.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, Cal.
You too.
See you down the road.
All right, that's Mr. Charlie Neal. I'm Kyle T. Mosley from HBCU Legends and Black Sports Insiders. Thank you very much for watching. You guys take care. Bye, Charlie.
You are listening to the Urban Sports Team. Thanks for pulling up. Wole and Ray are in the building. Special midday edition. The Urban Sports Team is also part of Black Sports Insiders. You can check out the home of the Urban Sports Team at urbansportscene.com. And family, it's that time. HBCU Corner right now. We have a friend of the show, Jackson State safety Isaiah Guthrie, a.k.a. X, is on with us. Welcome back, X, to the Urban Sports Team, HBCU Corner. What's good, brother?
What's good? What's good? Appreciate y'all for having me.
Man, appreciate you for being on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, we followed you for a while, obviously, from, you special to us because, we usually cover the MEAC teams, bro. And so you in the SWAC. So we over here traveling with you to the SWAC. So you already know what time it is. So we're but like I told you before we started recording, man, I'm proud of you. I think you like how you transitioned from playing in the MEAC to the SWAC. It's been amazing.
I appreciate that, for real, man.
Yeah, you're a team player too, bro. You're a team player. Last year you was like, I'm just fitting it now, but I'm about to make some plays next season, and it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, definitely stepping into it.
Definitely. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like, so far this year, you got 2 picks, bro. I DM'd you about, I need this pick 6. I want the X sign. I want all that, man. So first off, bro, am I looking at my pick 6 anytime soon, bro? I mean, you got a couple games left.
That's definitely the goal. That's definitely the goal. I just got to make sure it happens within the scheme, but that's definitely the goal.
But how is it? How's the experience this year though so far?
I mean, it's dope. It's dope just stepping into this leadership role that I'm in now, and leading the guys the right way, man. It's dope. And then just even to see how the transition from last year to this year has happened, being at the coaching staff or the defensive scheme or the offensive scheme, just seeing the difference and shift, and the vibe on the team is super dope.
And we always Ray and I always talk about homecoming. And last year was your first year at Jackson State. This is your second year. Now, how was the second year homecoming? Like now you established. How was the second year homecoming?
Yeah, I mean, like the first year, you don't really know what's going on, so you kind of like letting everybody else, tell you where to go, tell you how to navigate things. So this year, I got the chance to, like set it up right to make sure, after the game, I knew exactly where I was going. I planned out my night. I planned out throughout the week what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely had a plan and I executed it. Let's say that I executed it. So
I love it.
It was definitely dope. It was definitely dope.
Yeah.
And you turned it up, man.
Yeah, that's what's up, man.
So you miss Delaware at all, bro?
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, that's home. That's home.
All right.
That's home. So yeah, I'm always miss home. I'm a Delaware kid through and through.
I was gonna say, because every time I see you post, you like, Jackson's my home forever now.
You embracing it.
You got your business set up there. It's cool though.
Yeah, that's my new home for sure. They took me and they got a thing where like they call them like Jacktown Jews. And so that's the nickname they gave me. I'm a Jacktown Jew now. So this home for right now, yeah.
I love it. All right, so let's get to the season, man. The Tigers are 8-2, including being 6-0 in the SWAC East, man. What has made this team so good this season?
I think the biggest thing is that we're not just an offense, we're not just a defense. Our coaches like to call it we-fence, and so we play off each other. You know what I'm saying? Some games you go in and defense has a bad start, but offense is carrying us through the first half, and then it switches in the second half. We just all come together. And then you have some games where it's vice versa. And, we kind of just take it on our shoulders for what it is, take it play by play. And we don't really flinch at anything. You know what I'm saying? No matter what's going on, we kind of just keep it going, keep our head down and work. And that's just what it's all about. We just work. We don't do too much. We've been here since May. You know what I'm saying? So everybody says they want to be a champion. Everybody said they want to do play in December, but nobody wanted to be here in May. Nobody wanted to be back at school in May. I think we were probably one of the only FCS, probably one of the only HBCUs that was doing that. And we didn't take it for granted at all. So that's the special thing about this season. We're just together.
Would you say like last season, your experience last season motivated you for this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the letdown was ridiculous. Just having these fans, having this community used to winning, a winning culture and a winning environment. And so when we weren't winning the way we were supposed to and weren't being able to, go into the vet and protect the vet, that was a big letdown for our fans. It was a big letdown for us too. And so that switch had to happen, and we made it happen the right way.
Yeah, I can see the difference interviewing you mid-season. You locked in. I can see it. Off-season, you're a little more laid back, but that's cool because one of the things that you kind of talked about last year was how you got to Jackson, and Coach TC was a big part of that, man. So I know you guys want to win for him because there's a lot of eyes that cover that program to see how he's going to do after, of course, who left Jackson State. So how big is that for you guys, man, winning out there? I know that the job isn't done yet, and like I said, based on your demeanor, you clearly know that. But how does it feel being successful for your coach, man?
It feels great. It feels great. He's a guy that loves on us and loves this community. He's a Jackson State kid himself, and so he takes it on his shoulders to be great, and he puts it on us. And so we take the characteristics of our coach, and we go out and just play for the community. They tell us all the time, like, we don't have no professional team out here or anything like that. So they treat us as if we're the professional team that they have. They love us. They love us, and they make sure we feel it. And so in turn, we just got to keep winning for them.
Talk about that second half against FAMU. That was dope. I mean, I know for you that had to feel good too because of what happened last season. And I was texting, and people like, nah, FAMU ain't losing. I'm like, all right, we'll see. And it was close to halftime, but then y'all locked down second half. And I feel like that, I mean, you probably had some momentum before then, but that really gave you guys momentum. Would you agree with that? And just talk about that energy that went into that second half.
No, yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I mean, like we always said that was the first step into being where we wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? The rest of the games were kind of like, tune-up games, but getting that one, that was the first step to being where we wanted to be and playing in December. FAMU had what we wanted at the end of the day. They was the champions. So we had to go take it. But no, that game was crazy. That game was absolutely crazy. That game was absolutely crazy. I mean, all week we had been looking at little cut ups of the game last year, and our defensive coordinator, he just let us know, like, last year we got bullied, we got pushed around, we got out physical, and so our whole thing for that game was just to be a-holes, honestly. we played with a chip on our shoulder. I mean, I'm serious though. Yeah. All games, we was playing with our chip on our shoulder, and we was just being chippy. I mean, just playing like straight a-holes. Like we didn't care. We had no care in the world. And so going that second half and at the end, the way it did was a testament to our work, honestly. And again, like I said, man, we did not flinch. I think it was 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left. We had just missed a kick, a field goal, and they was getting the ball back, and nobody even that's when I knew he was good. When I looked around, I'm like, no, we straight. Like nobody cared. Like nobody was pouting. Nobody was going at each other. None of that. Like we was like, all right, like we gotta go out here and get a stop. And that's what we did. I mean, you can even tell from our fans were leaving. Our fans thought it was over. And there's still 5 minutes left, 21-20. We had fans leaving out the stadium. So,
wow.
That's just
man,
what we do,
I'm trying to tell you. When I see you chirping at the sideline, I always wonder, what is he saying? Because, like I said, we interview you here, but when you chirping at the opponent's sideline, it's always a dope look, especially when you up, of course. Yeah. And that game, it was kind of chippy. You look like you got a little bit bigger. You got bigger last year. You look like you were a little bit more muscle on you this season. I'm like, dang, he not playing. You already striking now since you in Jackson. Yeah. You say the finesse stuff for us in the MEAC, but you
he's smacking, he getting sacked, he's smacking folks. I be seeing clips, I'll be like, dang, look at X.
Yeah, I'm playing a little different this year. I put on like 13 pounds in the off season. Yeah, just to be able to come down in the box and do what they need me to do. So that's definitely helping me out. Being able to strike the way I want to strike.
Ray mentioned FAMU, but obviously y'all had a tough one against Grambling State, and I felt like y'all season pretty much changed after that game. Did something click after the Grambling game?
I think the biggest thing was understanding that we could literally go into a game and do everything right and still beat ourselves.
Okay.
At the end of the day, you go back and look at that game. It ends in 41-20 or 20? Yeah. 41-20. If you go back to the stats, and you always got to look at numbers, right? Yeah. Stats wise, we kill them. Stats wise, we absolutely kill them. I think they had 240-something yards of offense. I think we had 400 and something of offense. Yeah. Defensive wise, they went on the defensive back because of how many turnovers they got. And I mean, kudos to them and their defensive staff and their players too for taking advantage of they took advantage of every opportunity that they got. When they got a turnover, they put it in the box. And so, yeah, I mean, you can't win a game with 6 turnovers. We knew that. And so we made the necessary changes. But definitely being able to understand that, we literally can lose from us. Like it has to have nothing to do with them. They don't have to be the better team. They don't have to be working harder. They don't got to be grittier. We can go out there and beat ourselves. And so now we understand that. And it's something that we're not going to allow happen to us again. Yeah,
because you're right. Because it felt like you all had just a different focus after that game. You know what I mean? To look at it, you guys have been pretty much dominant after that game.
Yeah. When you lose to a team or whatever, you kind of just follow them throughout the season. We lost to ULM. We followed what they were doing. They're doing some big things over at ULM. And we say all the time, like, dang, like I wish we had that game back. And we said about Grambling too, just seeing Grambling, I think they lost to Bethune. Like, like we should have never lost to them boys. And we shouldn't have, honestly, really shouldn't have. But I mean, everything happens for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Even when you go back to the previous Celebration Bowl champions, none of them were undefeated.
Yeah.
And some of them, I think the SC State that won in 22 was 7-4 or something like that, 8, something like that. So, you got to take them L's to be able to learn. And so that's all we did. We just learned from it, kept it pushing.
Yeah, it seems like it made y'all a better team, to be real with you. On the real.
Definitely. It woke us up.
So what are the practices like now? Because you said there's always pro scouts there. There's always people watching what Jackson State is doing. And then when you get the program rolling, like y'all got it rolling now, is it magnified or is it just status quo?
We don't ever want to go away from what we do. We have a thing on Tuesday after. I don't even know if that was after the Grambling game. I don't think it was, but we call it Bloody Tuesday. On our defensive side of the ball, where we're hitting. I mean, on Endo, we're hitting. We're getting after each other. Even this week, we call it Bloody Tuesday, but this was actually the first week that somebody actually was bleeding afterwards. So it was crazy.
All right.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, bloody. Nose was all bloody, but no, we get after it. And we don't take our foot off the gas. Like I said, man.